Been with us. Russian attacks on Ukraine have killed at least 6 people. A drone strike hit a kindergarten in Kyiv. This happened in the middle of this Wednesday morning. A man there was killed, 6 people hurt. It's reported 48 children and staff were inside the premises when it was hit by what's believed to have been an Iranian Shahed drone. Meanwhile, in Kyiv, a mother and her 2 daughters, aged 12 and 6 months, were killed in Russian strikes. 4 people were killed in Brovary district of Kyiv Oblast. Ukraine's Air Force said Russia launched over 400 drones and 28 missiles over the territory overnight. And Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky said that Russia had also struck sites all across the country. Let's bring in Gulliver Cragg to give us more on the situation. Gulliver, a very good evening to you. Gulliver, let's start with what has happened today and the tragedy, of course, with that strike on a kindergarten.
Well, thankfully, at the kindergarten, the children and the staff had all made it down to the basement after the air raid siren went off and before the strike hit the premises. But the damage is very significant. And as you said, 6 people or 9 people, I think, were injured and 1 person died. Those were passers-by who were nearby the kindergarten. Explanation as to why that building was targeted, we've seen none whatsoever. That was, as we mentioned, in Kharkiv. Meanwhile, targets in Kyiv, Dnipro, Zaporizhia, Poltava region and Odessa region in the south, those were only some of the regions targeted, with a wave of strikes that focused once again on energy infrastructure, provoking power cuts. And there was a power cut across the area of Kyiv where I am now a little earlier. The lights are back on now, but Ukrainians are bracing for yet another winter of darkness. The National Electricity Company has said that from tomorrow, every single region of Ukraine will have scheduled power cuts. So they'll give us information as to which hours the electricity will be on and which hours it will be off. In my experience, they're not very good at sticking to that timetable. And what's worrying, of course, is that the Russians have got so much more capacity to strike Ukrainian power stations than they did last year. We're now seeing drone strikes overnight with more than 400 being used on a regular basis. The record was 800. This time last year, if there was 100, we were calling it a really massive strike. So you can imagine, although the Ukrainian air defenses have also got stronger and the Ukrainian backup plans for how to keep their lights on, generators, big batteries, imports from Europe, they've also been put in place. The Russians' capacity to do harm is obviously orders of magnitude greater than it was this time last year.
Indeed, it seems every time that Trump and Putin speak, the attacks seem to be stepped up, don't they? It seems to be a pattern that is emerging. Clearly, the Budapest idea has been pushed to one side in terms of the meeting there. Mark Rutte of NATO are going to speak to Donald Trump, which obviously is something which could perhaps lead somewhere. And also today, Volodymyr Zelensky getting some good news regarding fighter jets from Sweden. Gulliver, can you unpick that for us?
Well, one explanation as to why this strike happened last night was after Donald Trump said that the Budapest meeting was not going to happen anytime soon because he didn't want it to be a waste of time. This after the Russians repeated their maximalist demands and refused to agree to a ceasefire, freezing the front lines where they are now. So the Russians are clearly pushing for more. Trump is reticent, and maybe they thought a show of force would help push Donald Trump in the direction of putting more pressure on Volodymyr Zelensky to agree to Vladimir Putin's demands. What the Ukrainians are hoping is that it will be the other way around, and that Mark Rutte, who I think they see as one of their best secret weapons, if you like, will be able to push Trump further in the other direction towards putting more pressure on Putin. That's what the Ukrainians and many of their European and NATO allies keep repeating, is that more pressure needs to be put on Putin to stop him staging strikes like the one he did last night. That's what Volodymyr Zelensky said this morning. Mark Rutte has a very good relationship with Ukraine. He's seen as a very staunch supporter of Ukraine, but he also has a very good relationship with Donald Trump. He's absolutely not afraid to flatter the US president. And there have been media reports that Ukraine and its European allies, together with NATO, are going to put forward a 12-point plan for peace. And one of the points, or at least one of the provisions that they're going to be suggesting, is a role for Donald Trump in a sort of chairing of some kind of peace council. I'm not sure if the details have been really hammered out yet, but it looks very much as though they want to flatter the US president in that way as well, by saying you're going to be the guy piloting this peace plan, when in reality it's a peace plan that's coming not from the Americans but from the Europeans. We'll see what is actually published officially about that, whether tomorrow or the next day. At the moment, there's just media reports coming out from various news agencies.
Gulliver Cragg, as always. Thank you very much indeed, Gulliver Cragg, our correspondent there in Ukraine.